Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm Chef Jeremy. I'm super excited to be here with you tonight. I work for Launch My Health, and we are a digital health and well-being company. So everything we do, sort of our mantra, is to help you capitalize on the fact that food can be used as medicine and should be used as medicine. Certain foods, in fact, even were first cultivated as medicine. Did you know that? Carrots, in fact, is the one that jumps into my mind. I read an article where it shared about how carrots were first cultivated as medicine because of the medicinal properties. They just happen to be delicious as well. At any rate, we offer over 240 cooking and nutrition classes every year. And if you take advantage of our discount code, welcome20, I'll bring that up again later as well, welcome20, you can take advantage of each one of those classes for as little as $1.50 a day. And again, we are incredibly excited to help folks launch your health to the highest level possible. So today, you guys, we are going to make spring rolls, all right? Spring rolls, absolutely delicious. These aren't the deep fat fried kind. These are Vietnamese style spring rolls. So they're fresh, bright, beautiful, crispy, nutritious, delicious, and perfect for a hot day like today, okay? With that spring roll that we're gonna make, we're gonna also put together a Nak Cham sauce. That's N-U-O-C-C-H-A-M, and I have the ingredients pulled in front of me right here. So hopefully a few of you, or maybe all of you, are cooking along with me today. That's a huge part of our model, you guys. For every class that I write, we build a toolkit for you, which comes, of course, with the recipe, but also the shopping list. All you gotta do is grab that guy and you can head off to the market and grab everything that you need. But you're also gonna find things like the advanced prep list. So if there's anything that needs to be done ahead of class, you can have an opportunity to get that done so that we can all cook together at the same rate and end with our meal in 60 minutes or less. Part of every class as well, we run through, or together we run through the ingredients that we need and the equipment that we are gonna need to use as well. And we have to make sure that everything is pulled out right in front of us here so that we're not scrambling last minute to find this or to find that. Again, our goal is to all cook together, okay? And really important as well, please do use the chat feature, okay? We have the chat feature available on Zoom this evening as well. So any questions you might have in regards to Launch My Health, in regards to the dish that we're making today, or really anything else related to food, I would love to have that discussion with you. So please go ahead and use that chat feature. Megan is over here behind the scenes and she's kind of monitoring that chat as well. So with that, are you ready? Here we go. So right in front of me here, I have on this plate, I always cluster ingredients together as well. So in this first cluster, we have everything that we're gonna need to make the Nak Cham sauce. So we have some rice vinegar. I have this is called shoyu, and that's just the Japanese term for soy sauce. This is soy sauce. If gluten is a thing for you, you can of course substitute the soy sauce for the tamari. Tamari is a gluten-free sort of version of soy sauce. And then we have fish sauce here. I have my sugar already measured out. We have half a lime, a couple cloves of garlic, and this guy right here, check him out. That is a Thai chili. So it's not the spiciest chili on the planet, but I'll tell you what, it's up there. They're quite spicy. They're spicier than a serrano or a jalapeno or even a habanero. The littlest ones tend to sometimes be the deadliest ones. So be careful with this guy. We're gonna take the seeds out today. But you certainly could leave those seeds in. If you're one of those people that is all about the heat, leave those seeds in there.
Hey, Jeremy, we have a question.
Oh, perfect. We do have a question.
Yeah, would liquid aminos be okay instead of the soy?
Yes. So the question is, would liquid aminos be a good substitute for the soy sauce? The answer is absolutely. Liquid aminos, are they coconut aminos? It doesn't really matter. There's a couple different varieties out there. But yes, they're going to bring some of that umami. That's what we're after, that fifth sense, right? And it's going to bring some of a little bit of saltiness into the dish as well. So beautiful substitution there, yes. We're gonna need to put our sauce together, 3/4 cup of warm water, just as warm as it comes out of the tap, and then a bowl and a whisk for a spatula. All right, so we're gonna do our final little pieces of prep here really quickly. So we're gonna take the garlic And I have mine already peeled. Go ahead and peel your garlic if you didn't already, but don't take that little stem end off. Leave that guy on. That is a beautiful little handle to hold on to as you're processing your garlic. So we're gonna grab our knife and we're gonna just slice it into thin little planks here, the short way. I'm slicing it the short way. And just as thin as you comfortably can. I always say as thin as you comfortably can. We're gonna do both of those cloves of garlic because, you know, ultimately, I don't want you to hurt yourself, certainly. And so if yours isn't getting as thin as mine, it's a work in progress. Maybe next time you'll get it a little bit thinner. So we've got all these perfect little planks of garlic. I'm just gonna bundle them up and then we're gonna cut them one more time into these little sticks of garlic. Doesn't take terribly long. I do have to say, you guys, I would never buy, you know, the pre-diced or pasted garlic that you see in the jar. There's just no substitute for fresh garlic, and it's not terribly difficult to process. The pre-cut stuff is going to have preservatives and usually some form of acid in it, so it's just not great. I would always cut my own. You could use a garlic press for this one. That would be just fine. If you want to do the little rock and chop like you see me doing here, a finger or two in the upper third of the blade. Place it right in front of the food, and then just with the back of the blade, you just bounce up and down a little bit. The back of the blade there is really what's key. And it doesn't take a lot of pressure. You don't have to get in there like you're cutting through the cutting board, right? Just get in there and give it a gentle little bounce. Just like that, okay? And so our minced garlic is gonna go right into that prep bowl.
Jeremy, somebody asked, what are liquid aminos?
Somebody asked, what are liquid aminos? That is a great question. And it is a substitute. I believe you can help me, Megan, I'd love that. I believe it's another fermented, because soy sauce and tamari are fermented forms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just it's basically a gluten-free form. It doesn't have the wheat.
The liquid aminos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Liquid aminos.
So it's a gluten-free form of
like a soy sauce. Yeah.
Of like soy sauce. So it's something else that's fermented?
It's soybeans, but they're just mixed with water instead of wheat and water and salt, I think.
Oh, fascinating. So it is still soy-based.
There's in some of them, but
not
the coconut aminos don't have soy.
Right. So
yes.
The coconut, the one I mentioned earlier, is made from coconut, right? And it's a fermented form, essentially, of coconut. Yeah.
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 I'd have to double check if those are fermented.
Oh.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. That makes sense.
I know.
Yeah.
It's good. They stumped us on that one.
You guys stumped us already.
And then somebody else said, are these Thai green chilies?
Thai green chilies, I believe they are. Yes. Yep. It's called. Yeah. They're Thai chilies, is what they're called. You got it. Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, great questions, you guys. Keep them coming. So the Thai chili, I'm going to trim off the top and the bottom, like so. And then I'm going to cut, and this can be a little tricky because this is pretty small. It's almost like a half of a green bean. It's about that size, right? But I'm going to do my best to cut it in half the long way here, just like so. And now it's the time to be a little cautious, you guys. Grab a spoon. Don't get in here and scrape this out with your thumb, because that capsaicin will attack the cuticle of your thumb and it can become quite painful. Also, be cautious not to touch your eyes and things like that. If you really are sensitive to it, you don't want to touch it at all, you can glove up. If you don't have gloves, a sandwich baggie, you guys, works awesome. Just stick your hand inside a sandwich baggie and you can use that to protect your hand here. So we're gonna take the spoon and I'm just gonna give it a light little scrape to remove those seeds. And I know some of you out there might be thinking I'm absolutely insane right now for getting rid of those seeds, and that's okay. Like I said, you can use those seeds. I encourage you to do so if that high heat level is really important to you. So now we're gonna take the little Thai chilies here and we're gonna cut them into little sticks the long way. Just again, as skinny as you comfortably can. And we're gonna bundle them together and turn them a quarter turn. So now those sticks are pointing towards my blade. And now we're gonna cut them just as skinny as we can this way. Oh, I got some hangers on there, look at that. Some stowaways. Make sure, look at the other side of your blade as well. I'm gonna get them all cut to these beautiful little, ooh, fancy French term coming your way. You ready? Catch a pen. Brune noisette. I know, right? Doesn't it just sound sexy? Brune noisette is a French term for something that's cut to 1/8 believe it's 1/8. Maybe it's 1/16 by 1/16. It's very small, small little cubes. Okay, so we're gonna take this and that's gonna go right into our prep bowl along with that garlic. And now it just gets really easy, right? So we're gonna take my lime and I'm just gonna juice it right into that bowl. You could, if you're following along with the recipe, you could certainly measure this out. I'm pretty confident that we're gonna get the right amount here, but if you have a giant lime or a tiny little lime, you certainly might measure out the lime juice. Here again, I do have to say, you guys, the lime and lemon juice that comes in the little plastic thing that looks like a lime or a lemon, that too, you guys, is not great stuff, okay? What I find there is that stuff just gets really acidic and you don't get those kind of floral notes that you're gonna get from fresh citrus. Fresh citrus is pretty easy to use, so that's what I opt for. So I'm gonna start warming up the water here from our tap, and I'm going to add our rice vinegar to the bowl. I'm gonna do a couple tablespoons of that. We're gonna do a tablespoon of our soy or tamari or aminos, whichever one we choose to use. And then we're gonna do a 1/4 cup of our fish sauce. I love fish sauce, you guys. I know you think, oh, it's so stinky. It is a little stinky, you guys, but I'm telling you what, it tastes so, so good. It's very different on the palate than it is in the nose. So highly recommend. If you want to cut the quantity back a little bit, go for it, but I wouldn't eliminate it altogether. The water loud? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked if you could repeat what went into the bowl.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, you guys. I know that Mike is kind of finicky. So in the bowl, I just went with the warm water, and I went with the soy sauce and the fish sauce. And I was just talking about the fish sauce, how it can be a little bit stinky. I know, but I wouldn't eliminate it. Cut it back a little bit if you want, but don't eliminate it altogether. It's a really important component of the sauce. And again, I'm telling you, it's absolutely delicious. So now we're gonna go ahead with our everything is in here except our sugar. So I'm gonna go ahead and add our sugar. And yes, I know it looks like a lot of sugar. It is a lot of sugar, but when a sauce is used properly, you really should only use, a teaspoon, a few drops here and there. So we want the flavors in our sauce to be big and bold, right? So if you want to cut back on that sugar, do so, but don't do it super drastically, because then honestly, if you taste it, it tastes bland. Your answer is just to dump a whole bunch more sauce on there, right? So make the sauce big, bold, and robust so that you only have to add a little bit.
Jeremy,
yep.
What's the brand name of the fish sauce that you like to use? The
brand of the fish sauce, this guy here is Kame, K-A-M-E. Really easy to find and a solid performer here. So Asian markets, right? Obviously, if you are familiar with an Asian market, they're going to have all sorts of options, and the majority of them are very, very good as well. When it comes to selecting ingredients that I may not be super familiar with, I usually go middle of the pack in reference to price point. So I don't get the cheapest one, but I don't get the most expensive one either. And I'm usually pretty happy. That works out well for me. Good?
Awesome, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just whisking this together, and the only reason that I need that water warm really is to dissolve the sugar, okay? Sugar dissolves better in warm water. So again, don't boil your water or any of that business. It doesn't need to be that hot. Give it a little whisk and you see what we've got here. It almost looks like tea or really weak coffee. And we've got like the confetti floating around in there of the garlic, and the Thai chili, okay? So this can set aside. Now, I do want to mention, this is gonna be absolutely delicious tonight. It's going to be even better in a couple hours, and it's going to be even better yet tomorrow. And the reason for that is the acidity is, again, pulling the flavor out of the garlic and out of that chili pepper, and that happens over time. Okay, so if you taste it tonight and then you put it away and you taste it tomorrow, it will taste like a different thing, and that you didn't do anything wrong. That's just the way that it is. Okay, so our sauce is ready, and I saved a couple kind of pieces here to run through. We're gonna run through all these ingredients together, and I saved a couple pieces to kind of highlight as well. So right here we have, check out these guys. Aren't these just the coolest mushroom you've ever seen? These are called Enoki mushrooms, and they have this really long stem and a tiny little head on, tiny little cap on top of there. Super cool, very tender. They work well in these spring rolls. Here we have our rice noodle, which I just cooked in simmering salted water for about 2 to 3 minutes. Maybe they become tender really quickly. Strain them off, and then I run cool water over the top to kind of stop the cool. Next to that, we have our bean sprouts, pretty easy to find. I should also mention most of the ingredients, the vast majority of the ingredients here are really easy to find at every market, right? You don't have to go to an Asian market, probably really for anything other than 2 ingredients. Perhaps the fish sauce, okay? And our rice papers, which we'll talk about more in just a second here. I couldn't find these at my local everyday market, so I did have to run to an Asian market for these. But really the rest of this, pretty common, easy to find ingredients.
We did just get a question asking, where do you find the Enoki mushrooms? So you're saying we could get those at most stores or markets?
Yep. The Enoki mushrooms, I actually got mine at Lunds and Byerly's here in the Twin Cities. Yeah, they're pretty easy to find. They're by the rest of the mushrooms. They come sealed in their own tiny little like cellophane sleeve kind of. That's what they'll look like. So
they're probably one of those things that are there, but until you're looking for them, you never notice them.
Yeah, you probably walked by it 100 times, you know. But yeah.
Somebody wants to know, how earthy in flavor are those mushrooms?
They're very light. So how earthy are the mushrooms was the question. I'll just reiterate it just to make sure. They're very light. Honestly, if you, I mean, they're.
They want to know because their kids are picky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you think kids would like those?
I really do. They're super mild. I think, you know, if they think they don't like mushrooms, you could pass them off as something else. I really think they wouldn't even know. It doesn't taste like, you know, like a hearty portobello or even like the caps or the baby bell. Any of those guys, they're super light, a little crispy, and just very fresh, I would say. Yep. Great question. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Oh, can we keep fresh spring rolls fresh for a couple of days?
How long can you keep spring rolls fresh? So that is a great question. The ingredients, for the most part, in them are safe. The trouble is the rice papers get really sticky. So the way that I manage them is I will plate them on a damp towel if I want to, you know, extend them out for a couple hours, and then cover them with another damp towel. Don't use plastic wrap; that's going to stick to it. That's going to be a mess. Foil, don't even think about that. You want to keep them in a humid, cool environment. And I think the longest that you're going to be happy with them is, you know, probably a day at the max, because they are going to, you know, dry out again. So yeah, I don't want you to go through all the time and make them and then have them be less than stellar. So I know that is the one kind of bummer. You do want to eat them relatively quickly. So I have some chopped up nuts here. I used cashews today just because that's what I had. Typically, and in your recipe, you'll see peanuts, but I know, you know, that's kind of a big hot button these days. You can use any nut you want, to be honest, or skip it altogether. That's the beauty of these ingredients too, you guys. Use them, use others, you know, get some zucchini in here. Any light, tender vegetable on that kind of low density side is gonna go really good in here. I have my carrots, which are julienne, and the cut that I applied to the carrot is the same one that I'm going to demonstrate on the cucumber here when we get to that one. This is some Napa cabbage, and it's this pretty frilly, light and kind of delicate cabbage, and it comes, or it grows in like a football shape, sort of. If you can't find that one, Savoy cabbage works really well. It's very similar to this, but it's a round head. I wouldn't substitute like a regular, really hearty green cabbage here because it's kind of too hearty, right? You don't want anything chewy in these. You want them to be relatively delicate. So if you can't find the Savoy or the Napa, I would just skip the cabbage, or maybe even shred up like some lettuce to substitute there.
How about with a nut allergy? What could they use? They asked, would sunflower seeds go well? Totally.
So not traditionally, right? But not everything has to stay true to tradition. I think that is a phenomenal substitute. So yeah, if you want to substitute sunflower seeds or another seed for the nut because of a nut allergy, aces there. Yep, good call. The next one we have is some bell peppers, and we just julienne these. You could use whatever color you want. Use multiple colors. Again, kind of, you know, engaging the kids in this, getting these, getting them to be part of the assembly. Bright colors can be a great way to kind of engage them, get them excited about that. Here I have some ground pork, which I just browned, and I seasoned it with a little bit of salt and some of that fish sauce back there. Absolutely delicious. You're not going to regret. If you've never had fish sauce, you got to try it, you guys. And then I do have our shrimp here as well. Pardon me, shrimp stayed in the cooler as long as possible, of course. But this is our shrimp, and I poached it in just a little bit of salted water as well, kept it really simple. And then we're gonna, I have one more cut to apply to these that I wanna show you as well. And we have our herbs, which are cilantro, basil, and mint. Very typical kind of Thai blend of herbs. You'll also, or Vietnamese, you'll also see this same blend oftentimes in as a garnish for pho. That wildly popular Vietnamese soup right now is going to have a very similar herb blend, or the same herb blend is here. We're going to process these together. I'm going to show you how to cut these. I have that cucumber we're going to cut together, and I have these green onions or scallions, which I'm going to show you how to cut as well. So if you're ready, go ahead and grab your knife, and let's start with that cucumber. So all we're going to do is cut planks at an angle out of this cucumber. So if I, you know, this would be 90, this would be parallel, right? I just want to sort of kick that tip of that blade out a little bit, and we're going to cut through this guy into planks and shoot for about 1/8 of an inch. That's a typical kind of a julienne cut. And you can adjust, again, the length of your plank exactly based on the angle of the blade to the vegetable, or technically fruit, I suppose. All right, so I'm just going to cut just like this. And you can, if you're following along, you want to do your best to make each side of that the same thickness. Not a perfect science, of course, but that's just kind of our goal as we're cutting these guys. And I'm also keeping them kind of neat and orderly here, right? I'm just letting them kind of stack or shingle together. Just like this. Oh my gosh, this thing smells amazing. A nice, beautiful, sweet cucumber. It's just an awesome thing. So we're gonna run all the way through here. Just like that. Now I'm gonna split my cucumber into probably 2 pieces here. And then I'm gonna fan it out like a deck of cards. Check this out. Okay, so I just fanned it out. I'm gonna do half at a time, like so. And now we're gonna cut the long way here. And we're gonna cut each of these planks into a stick, or a little julienne of cucumber. And then that can go right into our bowl. Yes, we're leaving this, keeping that skin on, of course. That's where all the nutrients live, in the deep, most deeply colored part of the fruit or vegetable. And you can see how easy it is, right? We've got these beautiful little sticks, or julienne. Goes into our prep bowl. So that is tip number, I don't know, I'm not counting, but the next tip, right, is have prep bowls handy. A cutting board is a cutting board. It's not a storage device, right? So many of my clients that I've worked with over the years have, you know, they go and they get a really nice cutting board, and they, you know, spend a little bit of money, they get a nice chef knife, and then they end up filling their board up with food, and then they're working on this tiny little portion over here as they're doing their prep, okay? That kind of defeats the purpose of having a really nice cutting board. So have some prep bowls or some platters so that you can keep your workstation nice and clear, and use that cutting board for cutting, right? So we're just running through that other half of the cucumber. Really slick. All right, you could do this, you know, some people would do this on, you could do this on a mandolin, if you know what that is. It's a little board with the blade underneath, right? And you can certainly do that, and the end result will be wonderful, but they're so dangerous. It's really easy, just, you know, a slightly wrong angle, and I've taken off my knuckle. So if I can do it with, you know, a chef knife, something that I'm very comfortable with, I'm just gonna do that, and it doesn't take terribly long. All right, so there's our cucumber. And again, you guys, I cut the julienne of carrot the exact same way. So cut it into planks, shingle those planks out, and then cut them down into those sticks. That method works great for julienning really anything that's long and cylindrical. All right, next, let's do our little green onion here. These could go inside your rolls, but they could also be just a little garnish on the outside of the roll as well as you're plating. All right, so I've washed them up. I'm gonna look at the ends. I might just kind of trim off the ends a little bit if it gets a little browned or dried. And then I'm also gonna trim off this root end, like so. And then again, very similarly to the way that we did that cucumber, at a very steep angle and always slicing. Okay, so slicing is this down and forward motion. And when you're cutting delicate little things like a cucumber or a green onion, which I think we can agree is a delicate thing, if I just chop straight up and down, even a really sharp knife is more likely to crush those things. Okay, so again, the down and forward motion, practice this one, down and forward. You're cutting on that down stroke. Okay, and that is key to really honestly making the knife work for you instead of you working for the knife. I know it might seem, you know, like a minuscule change, but it really adds up. And if you're doing, you know, you're doing like a Thanksgiving dinner or, you know, something where you're in the kitchen for a significant amount of time, you know, any little bit, any little tip that makes the process easier, safer, and more successful, why wouldn't we go for that, right? All right, so we have these just really light, kind of frilly, cool, but they're, you know, long and lean pieces of that green onion. And we're just gonna use them today just like this. But another little tip, if you take these green onions and submerge them in an ice bath. So just a cup or a bowl with ice and water in it. It's really cool. So they don't really soak up the water too much, but what they do is they begin to curl. They kind of turn inside out and they curl super beautiful. And you can look like a rock star in front of your friends, right? So we've got our green onion ready to go here. I'm gonna slide that off to the side. Just like so. Let's go ahead and let's do our, actually I'm gonna practice what I preach. I just said don't use the cutting board, right? I knew one of you was gonna call me out on it. So let's get it on our plate here. Go. Next, let's go ahead and let's do our herbs. So again, we've got mint, basil, and cilantro. So mint has somewhat of a woody stem. So I do want to pull off every little leaf of my mint. I don't want any of that stem in because I don't want, again, it's a little bit woody and I don't want any of that weird texture in there. Now your basil has a relatively tender upper stem. So you can kind of pull off that upper stem and just get rid of the core, the base kind of your basil.
I love the smell of fresh mint and basil.
Oh my gosh, fresh herbs are the best. And you know, I'm glad you brought that up because the herbs, these herbs, you guys, are a foundation really of a really good spring roll. In my world, if you don't have you know, some herb, like these fresh, beautiful, delicious herbs and a good amount of them, it's a really missed opportunity. For the cilantro too has very tender and flavorful upper stems. So all I did was I grabbed leaves, mostly leaves on one side, mostly stems on the other, and I twisted the stems off, got rid of those. All these upper stems, we're gonna go ahead and use. So we're just gonna lay all of these herbs together. I'm not cutting them one at a time because it's an herb mixture, right? And I'm gonna give them a gentle little roll. Gentle because they're delicate little herbs and I don't wanna crush or break them, but I do wanna manage them and kind of maintain them. This blossom end up here, I might fold under and roll one more time just to make this neat little kind of packet of herbs. And now, really important here that we're using that slice, not the chop, okay? We want that slice. So the down and forward motion. And honestly, you guys, a rough chop on these herbs is where it's at. I don't want, for me, I don't want my spring rolls to have, you know, super finely chopped, like powder herbs. I want to see, right, the cilantro and the basil and the mint. So just a real rough chop as we run through here. And that's all we're going to do. And this, look at that. is perfect. Okay, so we're gonna land this on our plate. All righty. Now, if you're working along, you guys don't forget, you're gonna need some warm water here. I'm using, honestly, this is a paella pan. You could use a large saute pan. Really what you need is just a pan large enough that the wrapper will kind of fit in it, okay? And it doesn't take long, so get that water kind of preheating there. And yep, mine is pretty good. All righty, there's our herbs and our green onion. I'm gonna wipe my board down a little bit. Beautiful. And for the shrimp, now, they're kind of big and a little bit bulky to go into the spring roll. You see everything else we have here is made nice and small and kind of dainty and delicate in a way. So we're gonna make our shrimp the same way. But I also wanna know that it's shrimp. I don't wanna just chop it, right? So what we're gonna do is take the shrimp, we're gonna lay it down just like this, and I'm gonna lay my knife parallel to the board, and we're gonna cut through this way, okay? So when we're doing this, I'm slicing, and I'm just doing my best to get right through the center of that shrimp. So now I've taken it down in half, and it's just this thin kind of almost wafer of shrimp, and it's much more easy to work with in the spring roll, and it's more enjoyable to eat it this way as well. All right, so I can go right in there. Now again here, really important, you guys, that we're slicing. So we're sawing through, not just pushing it, okay? If you just try to push it, you know, that's when your knife is gonna slip and you might hurt yourself. If we're sawing through, you have to put almost no left pressure on it and your knife will just sail right through. Now, if this doesn't work out perfectly for you this time, don't beat yourself up. That's okay. I know this is a little bit tougher, and I think we have a question.
You just hold
We're
that
supposed to
up.
say hold it up.
What it looks like.
Oh, what the final product looks like?
Yeah.
Yep, sorry. So we have our two little sides of our shrimp.
That's
Right?
helpful, thanks.
Yeah, of course. And so with the slice right through. Now, the important thing here too, you guys, I mentioned that I poached these in salted water. Don't just, you know, do a tiny little pinch of salt in your water, you know, like 3 grains of salt. If it's that important that we're cutting our salt out, honestly, I wouldn't even put the salt in there, right? It's not gonna really have an impact on it. So I always taste my poaching liquid, and when I taste it, I wanna know that there's a little bit of salt in there. And the reason that we can get away with it with the shrimp, or the reason that that's important with the shrimp, is because the shrimp only spends, like I said, about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes in that poaching liquid. So it's only exposed to that for a very brief period of time. Right, and goodness, don't overcook your shrimp, right? Overcooked shrimp become like little rubber bouncy balls, not fun to eat, tough, weird, rubbery.
Weird.
And I don't want to expose you to that. Okay, so we have, boom, 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 we have all of our goodies. I'm gonna put a little blast of heat on my water here, and I'm gonna lay out my towel over the cutting board. So you need a damp kitchen towel here to work on so that our spring roll wrappers don't stick to it. All right, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I just need a few seconds with the heat on there. And so again, these are our spring roll wrappers. Grab one out. All right, and kind of take a look at it. If you've got a little broken edge or a tiny little crack, that's gonna be just fine because we're, you know, wrapping these that it will be overlapped by another part of the spring roll, okay? So don't worry about that. If it's crumbling and, you know, obviously just breaking apart, that one you might want to get rid of. This Bon Tra, I think, is the brand here. These have been phenomenal, you guys. I don't think I've thrown out a single one out of this pack of 50 here, okay? All right, there we go. I'm gonna turn that guy off so you can hear me, and we're going right into that warm water, okay? I'm gonna slide it in, And now give it a little spin. Now, you don't want your water so hot that it hurts your hands, okay? About like 110 degrees maybe, if you wanted to check that, somewhere around there. You want it warm enough that it will saturate the rice paper, you know, relatively quickly, but not so hot that it's gonna hurt, that you're hurting yourself. And I'm just kind of spinning it, and you're gonna find as soon as it gets soft and you can, you know, kind of wrinkle it, you wanna get it out of there. So 2 thumbs at the top, and I'm gonna lift this guy out. Now, if this happens to you, okay, all is not lost. Go back into that water and use the water to straighten it out. Don't try to, you know, peel it open with your hands. Use the water just to get it back to a circular shape. We're gonna lay that down onto our damp towel here, all right? And it's time to fill. So you can use all of these things. You can use a couple of these things, whatever you want. You can make them all different if you want. I'm gonna start off, and just keep in mind as you're building them, you know, this rice paper is see-through. It's transparent, so you can see the beautiful ingredients underneath it. So think about what, you know, how you're building it in regards to visual and presentation. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start with some color. I'm gonna start with some carrot right down here. And I'm just gonna place it just a little bit towards me from center. And we're gonna build it about, maybe about 3 inches long. And we're gonna cluster everything together. We're not covering the whole sheet. We're just making sort of a central kind of log of ingredients there. So I'm gonna do some of my cabbage as well. I've got to do some noodles. I feel like some people, maybe even some restaurants, you guys, have you ever gotten them where it's like all noodles in there? It makes me so sad. I don't need rice noodles wrapped in rice paper. I want some of the veggies and some of the goodies too. So some of the noodles, I'm gonna do some of my nuts, get some texture in there. Let's do some cucumber. Oh, it's beautiful already, isn't it? And then let's do some of our pork. You could do absolutely make, you know, a vegetarian spring roll as well. That's not even, wouldn't be unusual at all. Let's do some of our bell pepper. Lovely. And oh yeah, we got to do some of the enokis, just like that. And then, as promised, you guys, I always do at least a few drops, sometimes a full teaspoon of sauce inside the roll. Just gonna take a little bit. We're gonna go right inside. It doesn't take much. This is a, you know, it's a big, boldly flavored sauce. So we're ready to roll. Dip your fingers into your water here to get them damp. And then we're gonna grab the wrapper near you on your side, not on the other side, but, you know, towards you. We're gonna come up and over all of the ingredients and then down to the other side. And then I'm gonna pull back with my fingertips slightly towards me to snug up the ingredients. And then we're gonna fold in the ends, so both ends will come in then. Just like that. It's honestly, it's just like wrapping a burrito, okay? Dip again if you're starting to stick, and then again, pull towards you, snug it up, and roll away from you. Okay, and there you have, look at all the color, it's beautiful, it's firm, it's held together, and absolutely delicious. So I'm gonna grab really quickly, I'm gonna grab an entree plate. I'm gonna plate these for you. Do one there, and we're gonna do one more together, okay? So go ahead and grab your rice paper into that nice warm water. Again, it doesn't take long, so don't oversaturate it either. As soon as it becomes less rigid, as soon as it becomes soft, you want to get it out of there. If you oversaturate it, it's going to become really weak to roll. So you're going to get ingredients kind of poking out of it. So as soon as we're super close here, and the cooler your water is, the longer it takes as well. So you really want to look for and feel for that point when it becomes soft, when it becomes limp. And mine is there. So again, 2 thumbs on the upper side. I'm gonna lift up and out of that water.
The technique.
Okay, keep it nice and flat. I'm gonna go right on there. Okay, so this final one, we're gonna do kind of keeping presentation even more so in mind. I'm gonna take some shrimp and I'm gonna lay those down first. So now those will be what we see on the outside of our roll, right? Take Let's do 1.5 here. There we go. So we've got our little shrimp there. Then, I don't know, let's do our noodles on top of that. Don't overfill them, you guys, either. I mean, I know it's easy to do. Err on the lighter side. You can always fill the next one more, but it's just, I don't know, it's a little sad when they burst open, right? I've got some bean sprouts here, my carrots. Beautiful. Let's do a little cabbage. All right, and then, my goodness, get those herbs in there. Here we go. I'm gonna do another little spoon of our Enoki Mushrooms sauce. Okay, and we're gonna roll. Dip those fingers, grab the rice wrapper on your side towards you. Okay, we're gonna come all the way up and over to the other side. With those fingertips pull back slightly. Fold over the ends. Like so. And then once again, snug it up and roll it out away from you. Okay, and there you have that guy. All right, and now if you want to as well, you can cut it in half. So I've removed my towel. I'm just gonna take and I'm gonna cut this guy in half, kind of at an angle, just kind of pretty for presentation. I do recommend kind of just dipping the blade in the water and getting that blade a little bit damp, letting that bead of water run down the blade, because that will help, again, avoid the sticking of the rice paper. And I'm gonna cut it in half at an angle, doing that slicing motion, not pushing down on it. Let's go ahead and plate this guy. There we go. All right, just like that. If we want to get fancy, we might take a little bit more of our sauce, making sure we get some of that confetti in there, kind of go around the plate. Maybe even a little on the roll. Oh yeah, there we go. And then maybe just a little sprinkle of our green onions. And there we have it. Yum. I literally cannot wait to eat this, you guys. So good. All right. Any questions, Megan? Anything coming in?
None right
Nothing?
now.
Okay, you guys. In addition to classes as well, I want to mention we also have our health-focused series, like the Restorative Nutrition Detox. Super awesome. I did it. I think everyone on the team has done it. So many people have already benefited from it. One of the sort of almost surprise benefits it has been for a lot of people weight loss, actually. So that's really exciting that we're sort of taking a different approach and reaping benefits that we aren't even really necessarily projecting. So